Greetings, friends. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with another one of our in-between episodes of 50 Years in the Dungeon. It's a show that I've been doing for the last year or so, interviewing folks who've been involved in the production of Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop role-playing games. The inspiration was to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that game and the entire hobby, because it's now 51 or 2 years old. Who knew? I guess we did because we started at 50. Anyway, I have interviewed a bunch of people, and while I talk to them, I have done cartoon homage drawings. I've begun doing cartoon homage drawings based on classic pieces of gaming art. However, I didn't finish them all. And while I'm here in this in-between period, between season 1 and season 2, I'm coming here to work on finishing those because I want to be able to close the book on chapter 1 and say it is in the metaphorical and literal book of all the art and one drawing for each year of the 50 years. So that's what we're doing here. I'm back to do some drawing, and I figure while I'm doing that, while I'm not doing interviews, I can still answer questions and chat. But it's kind of tough. I've got my head down working on drawings, so I've been lucky enough to have some of my friends volunteer to come on and be my my Ed McMahon, if you will, my second banana, my co-host for an episode. And tonight, that person is none other than someone who's been a guest on the show previously, Jeff Quick.
Hey,
God,
everybody.
I knew I could surprise you. All set up, I'm going to get him when he's like, ooh. I was hoping I could get you with putting chips in your mouth.
Oh, well, it's a pretty common occurrence. But I've prepared for tonight. I have all of my drinks on hand ahead of time so that I'm less likely to get up and wander away in the middle of a conversation.
Well, I mean, the good news on any version of this show is that since I decided to have the drawing thing, either one of us, most of the show could be off screen, and it wouldn't be that big an effect.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because the drawing takes up all the screen real estate.
It's a secret sauce.
Are we depicted on screen during that time, or is it all the drawing?
We will be little square. We will take up about a third. Not quite, about a quarter of the screen will be you and me together.
I've done this before, but no memory at all.
Right.
It's as though
the
first time.
Yeah, I know. You were drunk at the time.
As I am most of the time.
Right, yes. Say those of us who know you so well know how funny that is. So, yes. What I find interesting, we got a couple people watching us already, which is great.
Fantastic.
We've got a screen, but no one's left a comment yet. So as I was explaining beforehand, you should be able to see the comments as they come up.
I'm looking right now. It says no comment.
If they don't come up, then it's just going to be you and me talking, which would be fine too.
Still pretty damn entertaining.
Yeah,
let's face it.
We do entertain ourselves,
especially based on the purchase price.
So, hey Jeff, let's make this a little bit worth your business while, and tell the audience why they might know and care who you are these days.
Right, great question. These days, I work for Cobalt Press. I'm a senior editor. I run the blog, which produces new material every day of the week. Flash the URL up there, Stan, if you'd be so kind. Everything up there is curated by yours truly and intended to make your game better or possibly sell more Cobalt Press products, or both, ideally both. But we're not done. Today is the I don't know how many hours we have left. Let me check. We're in the closing hours of our current Kickstarter. 44 hours to go.
Hey,
of our Player's Guide 2. Our big Player's Guide came out last year which for Tales of the Valiant, which was our um, our version of fifth edition. If
Mhm.
you are of a kind who has reservations about giving money to Wizards of the Coast, but you still would like to play D&D, may I recommend Tales of Valiant,
Well,
which
if you just like
gets
games like this, because it's a good
get
game like this.
it, it is uh, it's a good game. It is extremely compatible with D&D, even more so than some of the other uh, 5e sort of offshoots that are running around.
Mm.
We specifically, I mean, I have a copy of Level Up. I've seen some of the others that are floating around, and they all have their strengths. But I feel like our strength is that we are uh, we are basically D&D. I mean, it. We've improved a lot of things. There's a whole bunch of quality of life improvements,
Right.
but consistently, what I see people say on the internet is, "This is the D&D like I like it. This is what D&D 2024 probably should have been."
But in this
And
case,
I'm
I mean, the good thing is that it's super compatible.
it is it is so um, uh, uh, recommended for you and your D&D loving friends. And I was the lead editor on the game itself, um, and I just kind of have a hand in a lot of other products that we put out, um, because I just like getting my hands in things. So
Right. Right.
um,
Michael in chat.
yeah,
See you, my friend. You see that, Jeff?
I do. Michael has
That,
been watching Scouting Party. Fantastic. I'm so pleased. I'm
that's where
I'm
the
glad you
content.
found them interesting. Uh, we usually will post a link to them on the blog when they come up.
Mm.
And um, yeah, recently I wrote. I don't do a lot of writing for the blog. I'm mostly the editor and curator. But recently I wrote an article called "24 Things to Do with Mage Hand," and it
Okay.
was kind of a breakdown of what to do with Mage Hand, like why it might still be relevant. 24 creative ideas that you might do with it. And the astonishing thing, and outside of the building, you don't really see this, but the week that it hit, I don't know who picked it up or where, that article got more views than the front page of the entire site. I don't know who picked it up. I don't know where it came from, but
You know who picked it
that
up?
article
Wizards everywhere.
that article did huge
Spellcasters
numbers.
everywhere.
And so I quickly followed it up with 24 things to do with minor illusion, and now I'm working on 24 things to do with mending, and and I wouldn't be surprised, like if the traffic keeps up, if we don't figure out some way to spin this into a whole product, because
Damn
people
right.
pe- people love it, and it's fun to write. It's I'm currently writing the mending one, and I'm like, what's useful if you break it to fix on the other side? Like what sort of gate does it get
Yeah.
you through if you break something and then fix it on the other side? Because I feel like that's a forgettable thing, right? You could probably break your Warhammer and then
Right.
smuggle it in and fix it on the other side. So just like cantrips, intentionally they were written not to really have combat use,
Right.
but I feel like by the time you hit second level, you've already forgotten that you ever even had cantrips,
I
and there's still a lot of fun
hmm,
to mess with once you're there.
Dale
I
Donna.
like your thinking, Dale.
In the game that I I've been in that Steve Winter was running that we just finished. It was like a 6 year game. We
Hmm.
only made it to level 9. Uh, I played a rogue. Not surprising to you, I'm sure. I played a gnome rogue. Also not surprising to you. And but I was an arcane trickster, and all I
Mhm.
used were my. I mean, and with the I picked that specifically just because I wanted to use the cantrips, and
Yeah.
didn't. I think in the that version, like mending was not a cantrip. It was like a first level spell, and so it
Hmm.
I couldn't use it, or I don't remember. I don't remember exactly. Maybe I could have, and it just the number of ones I was so low. I'm like, I can't even take mending, and that's what I wanted. Go gnome or go home, says Dale. Damn right. I'm
Stan, you see
quiet
that? You're quieter than me. It
again.
might be because I'm yelling more.
It might
I might
also
just be
be that
shouting.
I need to turn up my gain because different systems. Come on, where are you? There we go. Different things I do
No, I
have
think
different
I think it's
levels.
because I'm shouting. I could shout
Um,
less.
Now, well, I've just turned mine up a bit, so hopefully that will help a bit.
All right.
All right. But you know what?
You
In the
sound louder to
past,
me.
the person I've been talking to has noticed it, but going out to the video, it's made a difference. So we'll see. Uh, People, let me know if that made a difference. That's all I can do. So if it didn't make a difference, you're just gonna have to lean in closer to my speaker.
I can talk more quietly too.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to. You got it. We need the full Jeff. Yeah, so I had a bunch of cantrips, which was working great um, until we discovered that we had been using the rules wrong, and you can't tie sneak attack to spell effects.
What? Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Okay.
so I had been using it to kind of at range do like Ray of Frost. Not a lot of damage, but if I could get my sneak attack in, it still felt like I was doing something.
Yeah.
And then that changed, and I was like, well, this changes everything about what I'm doing. Oh well,
I mean,
stupid
if
rules.
it's not particularly broken, you could just keep running with it. I'm sure some rule like that is there
Yeah.
to keep
Well, one of the
to
things
keep
is,
people from gaming the system, but that's not what you're doing. So eh.
yeah, certainly, we had made it so it needed to be something I was making an attack roll on. It wasn't just an auto hit, and
Yeah.
everyone was fine with it. And then we found the rule, and but Steve Winter had started this game specifically to run the rules as they're written. So we
Oh,
talked about it, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be getting that. It was no. I didn't argue with it, but I
yeah.
sure did miss it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I run Tales of the Valiant in a couple of games, and I have one player who really likes exploiting rules holes. And he's not a jerk. He just likes finding them and then enjoying them. And he is walking the line right now. He's a rogue and he has a whip and he's doing sneak attacks from 10 or 15 feet away. And, it stretched the bounds of credibility the time whenever he one shot killed a knoll with a whip. It was like, I don't know how you did that, but you did. You rolled 19 damage. I mean, clearly you did it.
Yeah, no, it's when it went super well, I was dealing hell of a lot of damage. But my dice rolling is not that great as a general rule. The only thing that made it seem not so bad was Steve was a DM and his dice rolling's worse.
Yeah,
All
he's
right.
kind of Indiana Jonesy, but he's not trying to. He's not really trying to like rescue anything. He's just finding an interesting rules niche and trying to exploit it.
All right. I'm getting my
You were
iPad.
about to say, yeah,
For those
bring
who
it.
care about such things,
Start drawing.
I do my.
I insist. I care. Begin. Commence.
uh, Slow down, brother. People ask, so I say. I use an iPad Pro with the app Procreate and the Apple Pencil. This is not sponsored in any way, but I'm open to that possibility and others, and just random sponsors passing through here. Give me a call. Um, so if I click this button, which button do I click? It's been so long. Here we go. I'm working on the cartoon homage to the Practically Complete Guide to Dragons from 2023, which means I'm 3 drawings away from finishing the 50. The
Nice.
52. Turns out that 50 years gets me 52 drawings.
That sounds about right.
Um, so yeah. Um, there's another
Tell
Cobalt
us.
Press thing that you and I have in common.
That is true. That is true.
You want to talk about
Tell us
that now
about
or
that.
later?
Yeah, no, let's, you know what? Let's not save the good stuff. Let's
Okay.
go. So we might not get back to it is the thing.
Right.
Um, so it was more than a year ago. It was probably 18 months ago. Um, at Cobalt, we were kind of talking about starting to do some other games, getting into card and board games and whatever else. And Wolf, um, Wolf Bauer,
The Cobalt in Chief.
had yes, the Cobalt in Chief, uh, had like this one page, just kind of like description of a game he had in mind, and uh, and it was called Necromancer, and it was about you're playing a necromancer and you're trying to raise the dead and you're trying to do it faster than everybody else, and it was kind of a take that card game, in a 90s kind of style of a little bit of screw you and a little bit of trying to build it up and everybody else trying to knock you down, and an intentional kind of fun game, uh, in that in that style, right? And I looked at that and I said, "Why, certainly I can turn this into a game." And so I took it away and I fiddled with it for a month or so, and I brought back a completed game. And I had to expand a little bit, but a lot of Wolfgang's ideas survived to the final draft because they were pretty good ideas. Like I don't know if you know this, but Wolfgang Bauer has some pretty good ideas.
I've heard
And
that.
um, yeah, he's not just a suit. Um, and um, and so I'm kind of heading up the initiative to start producing. I just read David Shepard saying, "I hope Jeff is going to talk about Diablo 2 at some point." Sure, yeah, we can make time for that.
I
Uh,
tell you, I've got a very
so
an
um,
informed audience.
I worked on it and I developed it, and I think there are different versions of this story, but it was kind of understood from early on that we wanted Stan to do the art, uh, and so um, I don't remember who reached out to you. Who talked to you first about this, Stan?
Wolfgang talked to me before he handed it to you. Like I knew it existed before it went into your hands, but it was not happening at all. And then I heard, well, this is moving forward because I've decided that I don't have time to do it, and I'm gonna. And Jeff has these skills, so
Yeah.
let's use them.
For those of you following along at home, I spent about 10 years in board games and card games. I worked for AEG, I worked for Yellow, I worked for Bezier. Um, I've done I've done a bunch of things after, like, I was in role playing games and then I got out of everything for a little while, and then I wandered back into board games before I came back to role playing games with Cobalt. And but I bring all of this board game know-how with me. So that was very specific skills. So that was the idea, is that I would sort of spearhead this
I have
and
a
and
very
make it all happen.
specific set of skills that make me a nightmare for someone like you. Oh my God, you're a game designer.
I have not, Michael in chat. So we know Sly Flourish. We work with him a lot, um, and we're we're pleased to be associated with him. But I don't generally watch videos very much, um, because they bore me. And no reflection on anyone in the chat
You got
here.
to find a better way to
Um,
say that.
I just try to think of what the most incendiary thing I can say is, and then just go for it.
That's why
Uh,
you're in charge of
um,
the blog.
Actually, I have another good story about that because in the blog I was taking little pot shots at Wizards of the Coast, and um, uh, just here and there in articles, and I started ramping it up because what I would notice is that I would get good response whenever I would bag on Wizards of the Coast a little bit. And I don't have anything against Wizards of the Coast, like it's fine. But uh, around the time of the OGL mess, uh, Cobalt Press uh, for a brief time was like, we're raising the black flag and we'll do what we want to do. And then Wizards of the Coast made a turn for the reasonable very quickly. And we were like, oh, well, great. Well, okay, then good. And so uh, and so it was fine. But I just still had fun taking pot shots at Wizards of the Coast, and apparently it escalated to a point where we started getting negative feedback. Instead of people going, "Tee hee, you're so cheeky, Jeff," people said, "Why are you attacking Wizards of the Coast?" And my opinion was, I this is the most punch uppiest that anyone could ever punch up. I don't understand
Right.
why anyone thinks that we're being mean to Wizards of the Coast. But also, you're not wrong. I'm being a little mean. So I backed off, and I don't do that anymore. Um, I don't remember why I went down this road, but uh, uh, the I think the point is that I on the blog I often uh, uh, see what I can get away with. Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes that requires me to have to apologize, uh, which I'm perfectly willing to do. Like if I go too far, I'm very sorry. If any of you out there in internet land I've personally offended, forgive me, please. But also, uh, if I go too far occasionally, that's probably okay, um, because it keeps people wondering when is the next time Jeff is going to blow up? And the answer is I don't know. I don't know.
I don't plan these things.
But if I think of something incendiary, I might just go for it. I don't know. I mean, I try not to be a jerk in my personal life. It just slips out every once in a while because mainly because I think it's funny. Uh, uh,
Right.
my It was something that my wife kind of had to get used to because shortly after we got married, I would I would say something ridiculous or even take a little jab, and I would be like, no, but it's just that jerks are funny. We watched Firefly together, right? And I would just laugh uproariously every time Jane was an asshole. And it was like, no, Jane's a terrible character, but he's funny. Um,
True. True.
and so I don't know, for better or for worse, I carry that forward into other aspects of my life. Probably probably for the worse. Let's face it. I'm glad there's somebody out there in the chat who likes the blog. Good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. Um, Wolfgang is really great at letting his people just kind of do what they're good at. And so whenever uh, I first took over the blog about 2022, I wasn't even sure I wanted to do it. So 100 years ago, back in Wizards of the Coast days, or TSR days, really, uh, I was the editor of Polyhedron Newzine for RPGA, and
And a fine job you did of that too.
it was a very similar ethos of what can I get away with, um, and um, but
I
once I
think I told you this at the time, but of all the magazines, Polyhedron was the one that when because we got free copies of everything. Polyhedron was the
mhm.
one that when they gave it to me, I read it. I didn't just put it on the pile of I'll get to this. I I read the new issue of Polyhedron when it was handed to me.
Yeah, well, so one of the things that I sort of like, uh, again, I think this when I say for better or for the worse, it's probably mostly for the worse. But one of the things I like is finding something that doesn't get much respect or is kind of ignored, and so that nobody is paying attention to me, and I can just kind of screw with it. And and I can usually come up with something interesting and sort of jumpstart it into something that people want to read. And that's what I did with the blog. When I first started doing the blog, I was like, I don't know if I want to even do this, but okay, sure. And I had like a 90-day contract or something like that. And by the end of the 90 days, they were like, can we hire you? And I was like, what? Wait, you promised me this was just part time. It took me a while to actually come on full time because I had, at the time I was a stay at home dad and I was doing other stuff, and uh, I wasn't looking to be full time, but uh, you know, I quickly, I think, showed my value to the company, and they were like, okay, we need somebody like you around, somebody who is willing to blow things up occasionally. No, that's not what they said to me at all. What they said is you work fast and you hit your deadlines. So yes, we need that. Um, um, let's see. Somebody says, Engine Joe says, I remember the Polyhedron and Dungeon brochures when you bought TSR products.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder about that because I don't feel like people do that much. I mean, we don't they're not boxed products so much anymore, but people don't do brochures uh like they used to. And I think we'd probably talked about putting one in Necromancer, and I'm not sure we actually did it. Um but yeah, I don't know though. I guess I'll know next month. It is premiering at Gen Con, which
Woohoo!
is pretty darn soon. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, hey, let's get back to that conversation. So Wolf approached Stan about doing the art, and whenever we started talking art, I immediately said, "Well, what about Stan?" And it's funny that Wolf talked to you about it ahead of time. Everybody acted like they hadn't thought about it whenever I mentioned it.
That Wolf's
Stan? Well, gee, I guess we could. I don't know.
Wolf's very
Um,
good at that too. You
but
know, the other thing he's so
um,
very good at letting people feel like they had the idea, even if he
uh,
did.
but you know, I knew
Right.
like your style's what we wanted, and I knew you would get the jokes and you could sell the jokes, and um and you know you're really the only person I ever thought about to do it, or I guess if for some reason you couldn't,
Aw,
I would have found another person, but they wouldn't have been as good, whoever they are.
I agree. um, so, I mean, that was a fun process. Took, of course, the thing from my perspective, and I know that you both you and Wolf said the same thing that everyone wanted to work on this, but it couldn't take priority over other things. And so, as things like
Right.
Tales of the Valiant and other
Yes.
products in process needed help, the thing that kind of got a little put on simmer sometimes
Yeah. Yeah.
was
So there's another book coming out called Book of Blades that should be out later this year. Uh, it was one of the first things that I took over that wasn't the blog. Like I came on board in late 22, and they had just sort of started doing this thing called Book of Blades, which was like a PDF series, and the idea was to do a 12-part thing and then combine it all into a book, and it would make the tagline was "Make Melee Amazing," which is a really good tagline, I feel like. And uh, and we were just having real trouble getting it out at all. And I was like, well, how about I just pick that up? How about I tackle that project? Like this thing is suffering from nobody is the champion for it. Nobody somebody's the boss. So why don't I just drive it? And they were like, great, sounds good. You do that. Um,
We were hoping you'd say that.
and the more like Book of Blades has been like, and it's funny because it's a really good book, but it is seems like it's just been the poster child for um, important, but not as important as all the other important things.
Mm,
And so here it is coming out in 2025 finally, and it involved a whole lot of Wolfgang and me both like just getting out and pushing, right? Because uh, I mean every Kickstarter we do is we take our Kickstarters very seriously, and those are always like top priority. Um, and anytime that there's a Kickstarter that is um, that needs help, then it's all hands on deck for that.
right.
And so, um, Book of Blades, I think we'd originally planned for it to come out in 2024, but it just kept slipping because uh, all the people were needed on other projects. Um, and I got distracted because I looked at the chat. There's a couple of things I want to address in chat, but
That
I'll
happens
get
to
back to
me all the
that.
time. That's why you're here.
So I can get distracted. Good.
Yeah, great. I can keep drawing. It's all right. I don't mind the distraction as long as it doesn't take away from the drawing.
um, yeah. So Book of Blades is coming out this year, and I'm pretty happy with it. It is a book of game options to make your fighter types uh, uh, have more things to do, right? It's not necessarily supposed to bring any sort of parity with spellcasters. I don't really think that was ever the the goal. The goal was just to find interesting things for fighter types to do, and there's a whole bunch of them. So that should be out. I don't even know. Um, this year
Soon.
sometime. I don't think it'll be Gen Con, but before Christmas.
Let's just say soon.
Yeah, soon, coming soon. Uh, Somebody had said debut at Gen Con. Does that mean that our pledges will be shipping Necromancer soon? And Michael in chat, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because Necromancer is just on sale. I don't know that we pledged anything for that. Like
Yeah, but
we
they were
didn't
they did
kickstart
they
it. So
did
I'm not.
allow pre-orders.
Oh,
You guys did allow
okay.
pre-orders
Well,
for
if you pre-ordered, it's coming, right? For sure, it's coming. Uh, I
again to jump in with
Cobalt Press.
you will know better than I, but my conversations with Wolf were um, were basically huddled around the okay, it's going to show up by Gen Con, we don't know. And so if it now me just knowing how things work, if it shows up within 2 weeks, if it's not 3 weeks or more before Gen Con, then no one's getting it shipped until after Gen Con because there's just too much going on.
Right, right. We do have pre-orders up. Um, uh, we, I think what's probably going to happen, as Stan is saying, like based on experience and really who can say, but that we will have copies at Gen Con. I don't know that I'll be at Gen Con, right? It might just sort of be there without me. Um, we'll
At
probably
this point, you don't
have
know
stuff
what
for
you're
sale at
going to
Gen
Gen
Con.
Con?
Nah,
Huh.
nah. I mean, at this point, probably not. But um, sometimes
Yeah,
sometimes things
sometimes
shift at
Gen
the last
Con just
second.
happens.
Someone has said, Jeff, have you spoken about how you got involved in the Legends of the Lance magazine? No, that can't be me, Jeff. Is that some other Jeff?
You did some stuff. It
Legends of the
happened
Lance
while you
magazine?
were around. It was a thing that Sue did. It was a fanzine for Dragonlance that lasted 3 or 4 issues.
I have
Um,
no recollection of that.
yeah, I'm not surprised because
If
it
I
would
was
it would
involved, I've
something.
already forgotten.
Yeah, it would have been something that got thrown on you as an extra thing because you liked hanging around with us, and you're like, I could help.
That does sound like me. Um, I don't know. I don't. That's a great question, and I, I was involved at all. Someone else can probably tell the story better than I can. I don't even know.
I mean, as the Dragonlance fans who are asking this question, what are the credits that Jeff has in those issues, and that might help. But I think that his answer is more correct. He'll be like, because you guys ask me a bunch of that stuff too. I'm like, I did that. Okay. Um, so yeah, don't worry if that's the case, Jeff.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to scroll up and go back to Diablo 2.
Doesn't it always work that way?
It does. It does. So Diablo 2 was, I think it was one of the very last second edition D&D products we did.
Yep. Dale and I were
Um,
talking about some of that last week.
and I was an editor on that, or did I do some writing? I can't remember. I might have done some writing. But it was, it wasn't terribly creative writing. If it was here are Diablo monsters, give them D&D stats, right? It wasn't like, you know, let me wax eloquent about the history of this monster. It was, all right, your strength is 13. Check. Uh, and But it's fun. I've 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 enjoyed working on video game related D&D crap throughout my career. I did a bunch of stuff with um, EverQuest for Sword and Sorcery / White Wolf, um, and um, and now on the blog, pretty frequently, whenever a hot video game comes out, I contact a writer real quick, and I'm like, you know, write me some spin-off of this, only make it for fifth edition ready. Um, and so we're usually churning out some monster or magic item or something. One of my favorite writers, not that they're not all my favorite, of course, uh, did um, a really in-depth series about how to run. Um, he had run a Dark Souls campaign for about a year and had a really uh, in-depth take. And I ran it on the blog, and then we collected and sold it in a PDF, and it's pretty darn good. Um, right now, like something I've had on my desk for a while, probably a little too long. It's probably stale now, but I started converting Monster Hunter Wilds weapons for use in 5e.
Oh,
So just like
Monster Hunter.
throw away the weapons chart, right? Like forget all those other weapons. There are only 13 weapons in the world, and this is all the crazy ass shit they do. And It's a lot of fun to write it. Um, uh, but uh, but to do it well, I'm like, oh no, I probably have to playtest this, and I'm not going to do that. So uh, yeah, Megan, good call, Surreptitious. Megan did some Dragon Quest monsters. Megan's awesome. Love working with Megan. Uh, she volunteered that actually. She was like, "Hey, I like Dragon Quest. Let me do some stuff." And I was like, "All right, twist my arm, very well." Um,
No, no, don't throw me in that briar patch.
Injun Joe, no, I did not. I joined Wizards of the Coast. No, sorry, I joined TSR very, very late in its existence. I joined in 1996, and I was only the poly editor for TSR for about a year. And then there was that big wave of layoffs at that one Christmas, and I must have been like the very first name. They were like, well, this guy definitely we can get rid of. And then afterward, they might have had some harder decisions to make. Uh, but I remember I showed up late that day, and it was just as well because they, you know, they had a little trouble finding me to lay me off.
You got a couple extra hours work that
I
day.
got a couple extra hours.
Uh,
But no, I never did work on those gold or silver boxes. I mean, although I would have been happy to. That's the kind of thing I like doing. What were you gonna say, Stan?
I don't know. Nothing important.
No, I'm sure it was crucial, but that's okay. We're
Which
gonna find another
which
crucial
makes
thing
it
to
a
jump
shame
to.
that I forgot it. Yeah,
No, well,
kind of
the
like
the
that
problem
Dragonland stuff.
we have so many important things to talk about that uh, it's hard to remember them all. I like that Agent Joe is asking like all these things I would have loved to have been involved with. Planescape Torment? No, no, that would have been fine. But I was I don't remember when that came out. But I worked at a children's magazine before I worked at TSR, and that was well outside of my line of work at the time.
See, now I want to play the Ask Jeff questions I know are the answers are no. Was it highlights for children? No,
Was it anything you've ever heard of? No,
no.
it was not.
You know why I know it's not highlights for children? Besides the fact that I
How do you
know you,
know?
because highlights for children is published in the same little rinky-dink town
Oh
that
yeah,
Extend is in, and
right.
I'd have met you sooner if you worked in highlights for children.
Yeah, yeah. It would have been. I wouldn't have been employed at Highlights for Children for long with my. Uh, they would have labeled me a goofus
You
really
would have been a
early,
goofus.
and
That's maybe that was your job. You are the on staff goofus.
I'm like doing highlights, looking for ways to do subtle jabs at things I don't like. They're like, that is goofus behavior, Mr. Quick. No,
Goofus
thank
gets
you.
Gallant gets the magazine turned over on time.
Goofus wanders around the building and talks to his friends.
Oh boy, God, I love hanging out with you. We should do this as a regular show.
Well, right. So Chris Andrews, what Cynthia Williams, not that she said that it was underutilized, she said it was undermonetized, which she was right. She was 100% right. Although she came in uh, and said a bunch of like noisy, controversial things, which, as we've learned, I appreciate.
Right.
She was 100% right that D&D was undermonetized. What people never understood about that was that what she meant was that there should be, little keychain tags and lunchables and like and she was right. Like there was licensing opportunities galore that were just being wasted uh, uh, before she came along, and they're doing much better at them now. Like I don't really know what changed.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not.
so much. All the stuff you see these days that you look at and you go, "I wish that was around when I was a kid." That's what she was
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah. Um, and
Now,
there's just absolutely no reason why D&D couldn't have been on just more shit, t-shirts and bumper stickers and hang tags and whatever. Um, uh, and I really like my for Christmas, my wife got me uh, D&D licensed uh, 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 clog tags, right? For what are they called? The spongy uh, sandals. You know what I'm talking about?
no,
Oh, getting crickets here. Crap. What are they called? They're called Crocs. Crocs.
okay,
Um, and there's apparently a whole
okay.
business
Now I
in
am
making.
vaguely aware of what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, little plastic things that you stick in the hole, and you know, it shows you what you're into. And now I have my black Crocs with a beholder and a dragon face on it, and it's great. I love wearing a beholder around on my Crocs. Um, And that's, when she said undermonetized, that's what she meant, and she was right.
Now,
Um,
yes, having said that, the too many people in the company, and I, not having been there at the time, I don't know whether she would have fallen into this camp too. Turn to the game itself and say, you need to produce more profit than is reasonable for a game of that type to produce. Right? You need to produce money, the same kind of money that a collectible card game produces. You know, and too much time has been spent trying to up that. Too much pressure has been spent from the management at Wizards, pushing down on the game design team to
hmm,
squeeze out money when they should have been doing the kinds of things that we're talking about here. And the game
right,
design just needs to go along being very nicely profitable for them, but it's
right,
never going to
right,
be a home run. But that's the engine that stirs all that other commerce. Just let
right,
it keep happening and do
right,
the other things.
right. I mean, that's why DC Comics is still publishing Batman comics, right? They're not
Or any
that
comics.
right, right, right. But I mean, Batman. I say Batman in particular because Batman is a thing that is on par. I feel like with D&D as sort of a cultural phenomenon, but I think that Batman has been monetized much better. Uh, but that's what I've for a long time I've equated D&D with Batman. It's just sort of um, DC knew how to let people make Batman T-shirts, and Wizards of the Coast never did know how to let people make D&D T-shirts. Um, right, Marvel particularly. Marvel was fantastic at not giving a shit about licensing. Right, I remember a whole bunch of comics, even when I was a child, with even worse sensibilities than I have now. I would look at some of like the toys in Marvel Comics and the ads, and I would be like, "Those are terrible toys. Who would buy those?" And Marvel did not care that they were terrible toys, right? What Marvel cared was that the checks got cashed.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
and
I don't know if I ever said this to you, but that when we were working, when I was at Upper Deck, and we had the versus system for both Marvel and DC, the DC reps cared that we were getting continuity right, and actually wanted to interact with us. They were gamers who thought it was cool, and so it was a challenge for the team that it think what we sent to them for approval got looked at, and they wanted to be involved, and we needed to work that into the schedule. And
hmm.
Marvel was, did your check clear? Then it's approved.
So I did the very first release of HeroClix, both Marvel and DC. I was the developer on that, and I still have those sets here in my house. Um, and I would call up DC and Marvel to sort of like run things by them. And so before I'd had that job, I had worked at Wizards of the Coast on Star Wars magazines, and Star Wars has a very had and still has a robust licensing department. I mean, I don't know what it's like under Disney, uh, but they had there was a guy who I talked to pretty much every day. It was just part of my job every day to talk to him about things, what was going on with the magazine, and uh, um, what we were planning, and what was happening, and what else was happening. It just sort of in the larger sort of publishing scheme. Uh, And so that was sort of my experience with being a licensee. And then when I did HeroClix, uh, I would every once in a while call somebody up at like Marvel or DC, and I would talk to one of the editors, and it was really clear that he did not give an entire shit about whatever question I was asking. Like he would answer, right? I mean, I didn't get ghosted, but as long as I wasn't like, okay, so imagine that Spider-Man is peeing on J. Jonah Jameson's desk. He was like, yeah, sure, it's fine. It's great, good, whatever. I got other things to do. I got more important stuff to do.
Yeah.
Uh, and um, and in the intervening years, right? Because that was to over 20 years ago. Whenever I've been that guy, I understand it better, right? It's like um, I have like this full-time job to do, and also I have to talk to you occasionally. And my main goal is to get you what you need as quickly as possible, so that I don't have to think about you anymore. Ready, set, go. that's that's how I felt licensing HeroClix, and not that they were unprofessional or rude at all. It
Right.
was just like your licensed product is is not even reaching C priority for me. And this was before HeroClix even launched. Like HeroClix is a moderately big deal now, but at the time nobody knew, nobody had any idea if it
Right.
would be anything. Um, and so it was like, yeah. This is like Superman on the icy cups. Got it. Uh,
Those were cool.
yeah, well, they were cool, but as long as you're on model, I don't care. Um,
Hey, total side trick on this. Did you see? Have you seen the DC licensing book from the '80s that they reprinted about 6 months ago?
no, no.
During that era, DC had a gigantic book, licensing book, with all art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Oh, I think I have seen this. Yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
And I mean, that's what he was doing. That and Atari Force. That's what he was doing. That's what he made his career at in the '80s. And this book is full of amazing. I mean, just amazing art, mostly of Superman, uh, Wonder Woman, and Batman. But of
Right.
all the any character you could license, they've got a reference and at least one or two drawings of them in this
Yeah.
big book. And someone had found a copy of it, and it got reprinted as a broadly for sale product late last year.
Huh. Huh. I didn't know. I mean, I've seen it before, or at least bits of it, just on the internet, and it did look amazing. Um, but I would be interested in that book.
Yeah, no, me too.
Um,
I think it was like a $40. But it wasn't. They were smart. They didn't make it a cheap book, and
yeah.
it looks great. It looks great. All
I
right.
think you're David. So David Shepard says, I wish that WotC would set up a B team of designers and let them have one of the campaign settings that the A team thinks is non-viable, and let them make straight to print on demand products. Um, I think that's a fine idea. I think that uh, like that sort of creative wildcatting is really interesting to me. Um, I don't think they'll do it,
Yeah,
but I think it's because
it's so not
uh,
in their corporate culture.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're also in another sort of a pullback era. I mean, I'm just speculating now. I don't really know anybody in the building anymore. Um, but they're doing some more layoffs, and Chris and Jeremy left,
I'm going to be talking to
and
Chris
they've
tomorrow.
good, good. Say hi for me if he
I
remembers
will.
me.
I will.
I'm sure he remembers me.
He remembers
But
you.
um, yeah, it just sort of seems like they're in a one of their occasional retrenchings. They've launched 2024, and um, and I think that they're sort of waiting to see what happens. Um, I have
I think.
heard.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I've just heard, like, I haven't talked to anybody there, but I've
Mm.
heard that they are looking to um, uh, contract out more of their work now,
Again?
and yeah, uh, and like I guess, like, it's the contraction, right? Um, uh, and we've certainly had discussions about gunning for one of those contracts, right? Because we are uh, as I as I heard someone put it, and I I'm not sure if it's fair for me to toot my own horn in this way, but maybe because I'm not the whole company, I can do it. That Cobalt Press has been doing kind of what Wizards of the Coast should have been doing for the last 10 years. And not that Wizards of the Coast has been doing bad stuff, but I think that Cobalt Press um, has their ear to the ground a little more.
I think
Uh,
you know what I think a very fair way to say is Cobalt Press is more immediately in touch with the fan base and doing making stuff that the fans know they're looking for, and Wizards is in charge
yeah,
of doing what is going to build this game long term in their interest, which is exactly
yeah,
what it should be.
it is really interesting because they put out things that are sort of in their best interests, right? But that are also kind of um, uh, sort of category defining,
Yeah,
right? Which we don't have the capacity to do. I mean, if Wizards decides, we're producing two big book products a year and they're going to look like this, then everybody else, Cobalt Press included, uh, uh, kind of organizes around that. Um,
right.
uh, and we'd love to be in that position. That's a great position to be in. But Wizards sort of has a different job. Uh,
Yeah.
um, uh, but I think I agree with you that Cobalt is more in touch with the fans and more responsive to them. Um, and uh, and Wizard seems to have kind of lost the thread there. Um, which is too bad. When we were there, I think we were very aware of and responsive to fans.
Well, but
Um,
here's the thing. I
like,
think that the people that are working on it at Wizards
yeah,
are.
yeah, are right, yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean, and I've had this conversation with a few people here and elsewhere that um, thing is, kind of back to what we are talking about earlier about what the CEO says. The job of that company is not to be they the reason we think of them as a monolith. They are, and their job is to
yeah,
think on that scale.
yeah.
And
Right,
um,
right.
the people that make the products, like the guts of the products, are going to be the people that are in touch and saying what you are. But the people that are making the decisions about what's going to get made, how much money is going to be spent on it, all of that are not. They're looking at a different playing field, and then the creative team basically gets the shell to fill with cool shit. You're thinking about it. You may not agree with me. Or you can't hear me anymore. Can you hear me?
Frozen, frozen, frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, froze. I was just in the process of typing froze again.
I
Yeah.
was looking at that. Either you disagree with me or you can't hear me.
Stony silence is characteristic of me in that way.
It wasn't so much the silence as I looked up and I saw the expression on your face. And you would have an
Try-
opinion, more of an opinion than that.
all right, give me something to have an opinion. I'll have an opinion.
I was just
What
saying
did you
that
say?
the people that are making the decision about what's getting made, the shape and the size of it, and how many of it there are, and what its revenue goals
Yeah,
are not the people that are the they set that tone, and then the people who are on the creative team, the people we know and the people the fans know, are responsible for putting cool shit into those forms, to filling them with cool shit.
yeah. When Ray Winninger got let go, he had, I thought, a a very measured comment about it. And I won't be able to quote him directly, but my memory of what he said is that the people in Pawtucket have different responsibilities, um,
Yeah.
and a different perspective about what needs to happen. Um, and he understood why they made the choices that they did. And my corollary to that, I think, was that um, whoever is in charge of Wizards of the Coast at any given moment, it is it is maybe the measure of that person's capacity to make sure that getting a good game made and making a good product aligns with those responsibilities and interests of the people in Pawtucket. And I think that Chris Cox did a pretty good job of it. I think he
Yeah.
did a pretty decent job of making D&D align with whatever the suits in Pawtucket needed to have happen. So much so that he became a suit in Pawtucket.
Right.
Uh, and I'm less clear that anybody who's had the job since him has been as good at it.
Yeah.
I don't even know who is the CEO right now. Um, and I'm not suggesting that person's doing a bad job. Like I literally don't know.
Right.
Uh, but the fact that D&D is in this contraction now maybe suggests to me, given that I don't know any better, that um, is that person doesn't have a strong vision for how D&D, as we have known it, will align with Pawtucket's responsibilities and interests.
Yeah.
Um,
I think at the very least, and I like you, I do not know who it is these days, and I don't have any inside knowledge. But it seems to me that it's another one of the eras where, like we were talking about earlier, the reason they're re-entrenching, the reason they're pulling back is that requirements, fiscal requirements, um, are being placed on it, which are keeping it from, in the end, are keeping it from doing what it's supposed to do or will, right? Keeping it from being that little engine that um, drives the bigger thing.
yeah, yeah,
Or it will. I mean, they're gonna find, like they always do, that when they cut that out, suddenly they don't have enough of something, and people get unhappy, and they can't ratchet up the amount of money they're gonna get out of these products. I mean, to an extent they
Michael.
can, but
Yeah, Michael in chat tells us that John Haidt is the
okay.
president now. I don't know anything more than I did 20
Then
seconds
yeah,
ago,
now I know. Now I know
but
what the noun is.
thank you for looking that up, though. I'm pleased to have that fact. Um, oh, that's right, that's right. He says he has a background in World of Warcraft. That's right, that's right. I remember reading that somewhere. They brought in a World of Warcraft guy. Um,
Yeah, the problem with that is that it's kind of like when they let Magic people have too much of a say in it, and they thought, well, we're going to make it hum like Magic, the Gathering,
yeah,
and it never will because
right,
just a
right,
it's just a different game. And I'm not
right,
saying maybe John does understand. Maybe this John Haidt does have that understanding, and I would be selling him short by saying that. But my
right,
fear is
right.
that if the goal of bringing in someone from World of Warcraft is that, well, now we'll turn it in, we'll get World of Warcraft results. It's a fool's errand.
Well, I mean, even World of Warcraft, like World of Warcraft is still doing just fine. Like, to run a business like World of Warcraft.
Right.
Even in its declined era, right? It's still fantastic. Uh, a, a good friend of mine is a, a, a quest designer there,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, I don't, he is extraordinarily tight-lipped. He doesn't tell me anything I'm not supposed to know, but the things he does tell me lead me to believe that it's still a pretty good place to work. And even though they only have 2 million subscriptions instead of 12 million like they did at their height, 2 million is plenty. Like
Yeah.
that's totally fine. Um,
But if the
uh,
goal of Pawtucket is to bring this guy in because he can get D&D to start approaching those numbers,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I got to assume that there were people lining up for the job. I don't think they had trouble finding candidates,
I
but
got it. Yeah.
Um, but it seems like, if you have World of Warcraft on your resume, you at least understand the the you understand the business, and probably have an inkling of the customer, which uh, Dungeons and Dragons has not always had someone like that in the big chair.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's probably got a hard job right now.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And
but
I
I feel
wish it
like
well.
I do too. I do too. 2024. It seems like the whole D&D industry like pushed toward 2024, and they had absolutely no plan for what came next, right? There was no, and now we're going to follow it up with another banger, right? It's like uh, some of their bigger names used that as an opportunity to take a walk, and for some reason the company used it as an opportunity to lay off some of their smaller names, and um,
Who got laid
uh,
off recently?
oh, um, the chat is probably going to know better than I do. Who got
I
laid
thought
off?
if you don't know, then let's just not. I thought it sounded like you knew, which is why I asked. Because I don't. I just
I
recently found out that anyone got laid off.
Yeah, somebody else left. Um, one of their businessy people, uh, and they laid off another creative. I don't even know how many people they have in the building anymore, creativity wise. Um,
They hired a bunch. I
uh,
was talking to Chris about that uh, at the tail end of last year, or early part of this year, one of the two. And they'd brought a bunch of people in part because they recognized that it was going to take three people to replace him.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Um,
But that was always the case. He always did three people's worth of work.
oh yeah, yeah, but he was always there.
Yeah. Right. 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 Um, yeah, but I think anybody who knew Chris knew that, like, oh, they're they're in trouble when he leaves the building. Like,
Yeah.
even if they even if they plan for it, I think they're in trouble.
Well, yes, I think
There's just not
that's
really
true.
anybody to replace that. Um,
And a lot of that, I mean, a anyone would be in trouble because Chris, as much as you can get people, you could get people that could do the jobs. Chris does all of those things so well that
yeah.
just
Right.
finding someone to do one part of them that well, and this on top of that, they have not been training up the next generation the way that they used to when they had a large, robust team.
Right.
And I say that
Right.
not to take a swipe at anyone who's there like they don't know what they're doing or they're not talented. It's just that you learn a lot when we learned a lot in the 90s and early aughts when we had 40 people there and we were putting out multiple books a month.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was a good business plan, we learned a lot from that.
Yeah. Right. Right. People in chat have identified Jess Lanzillo, uh, a vice president, left, but right, just left, didn't get laid off, and Todd Kenrick was the layoff. Um, I don't know how many people they have there right now, but um, it seems like the building's a little empty. Um, I have read that they have posted job listings for both Chris and um, uh,
Jeremy.
his name is escaping me. Jeremy, thank you. Chris and Jeremy's jobs. And I saw that and I just thought that's really interesting because I don't know that there's a huge pool of people who can do that.
Well, I can tell you one
Um,
thing. I put an application in, and they did
yeah.
not respond to it.
Not surprised a bit.
No, neither am
Not at
I.
all.
You know, it's but I look at that and I think of all of this conversation, and I'm trying to have it without being too cocksure of myself or anything. But you know what? You won't find someone who, at least on even on paper, looks as good for that job that I don't even get a callback. I don't even get
Right, right.
a first step. I'm not saying they should give me the job, but I'm saying the fact that they can't identify that I am a candidate that they should at least maybe interview so they can learn from me and then not possibly hire me.
Right. Yeah, I don't. There's a lot I don't understand. So there's been a couple of questions for me in the chat. One was, what kind of board games did you do before? Uh, and um, and then David Shepard has a question about uh, you, that is a deep cut that you are
This happens.
uh, looking at Amongst Fungus, which was an adventure I wrote for RPGA that I was credited as Jeff Zippy Quick, and he was asking where Zippy came from. There's a long-winded story, and I will get to that. But first, let me talk about what board games I did before. I got back into the biz in around 2011, working for AEG. They needed somebody to do Thunderstone, their card game. It was a deck builder fantasy card game, and they just needed somebody who sort of got it to run the line. And I was like, me, I get it. And they were like, yes, you do. All right, you do it. And so for a couple of years, I ran Thunderstone for the company, and it was a lot of fun. Um, uh, and although Mike Elliott's name was on the box, and I mean no disrespect to anybody. Uh, it was on the box because contractually it was required to be on the box. Mike designed the first set and then wished us well, and everything that came after, we basically designed in house, uh, and um, and I did a a big chunk of that design or development in some cases on those cards. Thunderstone had this sort of very D&D-ish ability to be what you needed it to be.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so um, uh, uh, there was sort of a, a cleverly functional, like it's not a bad game at all, but a but a functional game uh, that just kind of works, and then you can pile all kinds of crap on it. Like it really handles whatever you want to. And and I'm positive that Mike brought that from all of his time on Magic, um, to just sort of create a solid working uh, game engine that then, like with Magic, you can just make up new mechanics and new crap to do with it, and it is seemingly endless the amount of variables you can throw on that game, uh, and and we threw a bunch on there, uh, and it was a lot of fun. Uh, After that, I went to work for Yellow USA, and I didn't do much design for them, maybe none at all, because Yellow USA's job, its existence, was about taking things that the home office, Yellow in France, produced and just reproducing it for the American audience. And so I did a lot of kind of uh, project management and like operations kind of stuff, like both project management and operations. In that, like every single game, I was sort of the manager of it. I'd bring it in, we'd get it translated, I would then localize it. I would make sure we had all of the components electronically that were required, and then I would once it was good English, I would send it back to France, and they would send it to the printer. Um, and for whatever reason, the guy who ran it was just on this like death march of products that year. Well, I was there for 2 or 3 years, but one year in particular, we produced like 50 products, and so every week basically, I was turning out another game, uh, and and in most cases, I just had to rewrite the rule book. Like it would come back from the translator, but it was and our translators were good, but it was rough, and so I would just from scratch rewrite the rule books, and I got really good at writing board game rule books after working at Yellow. Um, uh, and I played a bunch of games, and I worked on a bunch of games, and I thought through a bunch of games, uh, and um, and then after that I went to Bezier Games. They make One Night Ultimate Werewolf and a bunch of other games, and I was their editor. So again, the rules would come to me, and I didn't have to do a lot of rewriting because Ted Ted Alspach, who runs the company, is really good at doing everything. Like he's one of those I love games and I'm just going to do it all kind of guys, right? And every once in a while you find one of those, and so he would turn over a pretty thorough, decent rule book, but I usually found things that still needed to be fixed up or changed or whatever. Um, uh, and I also ran licensing for them, which was kind of fun. Um, um, and in all of that, I would design a bunch of games, but I never really worked at getting any of them published. And so I have this sort of like stock of, I don't know, 1 or 2 dozen games that I've made in the last bunch of years, um, that are just kind of sitting around not doing anything. And I've considered publishing them myself, but that seems like a hassle. And so, um,
That seems like a hassle. Hmm.
and so, and so when Cobalt started, sticking our nose into board and card games, I was like, well, what about this? I have this. Let me pull this off. I'm actually trying really hard to not make like Cobalt my publishing company, right? Like it's like, but it's just we want to get some stuff off the ground, and I have several things that are more or less ready to go, and so we might see some more Jeff Quick games coming out
Woo-hoo!
um, in 2026 and maybe 2027, just because you know they're on the shelf. I've play tested them. They're pretty functional. They just don't have art, and they need to clear all the hurdles that a business needs for them to clear, which um, we'll see. We'll see if they do.
Don't have art, you say? Hmm. Did I?
Well,
No. Go ahead.
no, well, no, no. Go take your turn. Did you say
I
a
was say,
thing?
did
Let them.
I? Did I? How much did I talk to you about the meat game?
Only that it exists. Like you told me a little bit about sort of its genesis,
I don't know
and that you
why I
did
didn't
it.
send it to you for playtesting.
I don't
Because you
either.
said you were interested. You were well. You said let me know, and I was like, yes, absolutely. And I don't know why I didn't. Hmm. It would have benefited from your insight, but I think it's pretty good. It's going to press soon, so too late for
Nice,
that.
nice.
Too late for that.
To answer the Zippy question, no, it's not from Zippy the Pinhead, at least as far as I know. So here's the so in, I I got to college, right? And for those of you, somebody says the meat game. Yeah, no, too late. I'm on the Zippy story now. We'll do meat game in a minute. Uh, So for those of you who have been to college, and I find this is a pretty common thing that people relate to. When you first get to college, the people that you sort of like meet at orientation or like that live on your hall or whatever, for the very first semester, those are your friends. Like the very first people that you meet, those are your friends. And maybe they'll be your friends later, and maybe you'll all kind of split off. But you're all like brand new and you don't know anything. And so the very first people that you talk to, you're like, well, we're friends now. And so in that group of people, there were three of us named Jeff. And there was another guy who was super cool. And by approximately the first week of school, he seemed to have met every girl in the freshman class. And uh, and so just because there were three of us named Jeff, he just, I don't know why, started calling me Zippy. I don't know why he started calling me Zippy. Maybe it's because my last name's Quick. I don't know. What I do know is that about 1 week into school, my friend is walking around campus and introducing me to all the cute freshman girls. This is my friend Zippy. And these girls would go, Tee, hi, Zippy. And I'll be like, hey, ladies. And so as soon it's just intoxicating. As soon as you're walking around a college campus and cute girls are going, "Hi, Zippy," it's like, yes, that is my name.
I
My name is
am
Zippy.
Zippy. Oh
And
yes, I
so,
am.
for the rest of my college career, I was like this. I was like this mononym guy. Like uh, everybody, like my professors would call me Zippy. The dean called me Zippy. The pastor at my church called me Zippy. Um, uh, Most people didn't know that I had another name, and they didn't know I had a last name, right? I was just Zippy, and whenever I would turn in assignments, I would just write Zippy on the paper, and that was for all of college. That was my name, uh, and so.
Just one name?
uh,
That's dumb.
Well, I didn't have good punctuation at the end, really. That might have been what ended it. No, the children's magazine, actually. After I graduated, I tried to keep it up, and the publisher, my boss, like gave me a real like stink eye whenever I tried to do that, and I was like, I see. So professionally, I'll be known as Jeff. Um, he was just not a like it's he was an all right guy and he liked kids, but he was not fun in that way, and so um uh and so for a while professionally, I would use the name Jeff Zippy Quick, uh, and I think probably Amongst Fungus was one of the last times that I used it. Just after a while, like I still sort of kept it up and sort of screwed around with the name on the side at TSR. Um, and I think Amongst Fungus was a Wizards of the Coast, and that was probably the last time I tried to include it. It just kind of didn't seem to live past college. I don't know. Some people still call me that every once in a while, and I still answer to it, and it is forever my name. But I don't use it much anymore. I suspect that if I ever went back for homecoming or something, um,
That's all they knew
that
you
I,
as.
I would have to, yeah, right. I mean, I would have to answer to the name again because nobody knows my name otherwise. Um, yeah, I remember in the school paper in college one time I wrote a letter to the editor and I signed it with my actual name, and people, my friends were like, "Who is that? Like, what is? I don't know who that is." I was like, "Oh, that's me." And they're like, "Oh, you have a name." I mean, a lot of people who didn't know me very well just assumed that my parents were hippies and just named me something weird. Um,
That's pretty similar to how Stan got accepted. I was like, well, I gotta either or. Got to make the decision. But I went the opposite way. So, yep, that is me.
Well, Zeb, somebody says in the chat, Stan, I remember feeling sad when I bought my Spelljammer novels and found out someone in the novel department removed the Zeb from David Cook's name. Uh,
Yeah.
Zeb still goes by Zeb. He did a design seminar with Wolfgang about the Labyrinth World Book, now on sale. Uh, and uh, uh, and he's everybody still calls him Zeb. He's been in and out and around lots of different uh,
Yeah.
businesses. Um, I don't know. In some ways, I kind of miss it, but also, here I am. I've, I've Quick. I feel like is a distinct enough name that I probably don't need a special name beyond that. I was one of my coworkers, who he and I sort of write copy together for Cobalt. His name is Chris Wright, uh, and uh, we were kicking around ideas one day in Slack just for copy, and he was like, "Quick and Right is an amazing name. We got to do something with that." And I was like, "Oh, we totally do. Quick and
Oh,
Right. That's amazing."
you guys are destined to put something great out together.
Well, what I told him, and this is why I bring it up, is for 20 years I've been trying to find somebody named Fox so that you and I could do something with Quick Brown Fox.
Oh,
But I've not run into anybody in our line of work with the last name of Fox.
you know what that means is we need to do a product which is called Fox, and
Just
then
call it
it would
Fox.
be the quick brown fox.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could. A couple of years ago, I wrote a role playing game that featured a white fox. We could put this together.
Going to be the quick brown fox about a white fox.
About a white fox. Yeah. Okay. All right. They're issues. We'll have to workshop it.
All right, I think I think this is the inks for this, for the characters.
All right. So what have you done? Tell me what's been happening. I've been gabbing and trying to look normal through occasional freeze ups
Oh well, I
and
mean, I
reading.
started with just the sketch,
Yes. Okay.
right?
All right.
And
Yes.
now
Good.
I've done the inks for the main characters. So
Okay. All
the
right.
way I do these, so go back and show another one. Um, it's like the one I was working on last week. Right, that's what it looks like finished, and
So like the freezing thing I was talking about, it's happening right now.
I could tell by the
I
look
don't
on
know
your
where this is going. I don't know what's happening.
face.
I hope it comes back soon.
Well, I'll vamp then. I'll vamp until I'm back.
Okay. No, 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 wait. You're back. You're back. Everything's back.
Okay.
Everything's fine. Everything's perfect.
So I'm now to show you. This is what I worked on last week here, and
Okay.
the sketch was, in this case, it was a double sketch. I did a foreground and a background sketch, right? And
Yep.
um, so, oh, and there's the actual background. So for the so what I've finished here is just that's the stage I'm at on the new one,
Okay.
right?
All
And
right.
then I will do a flat color and a highlights color and any effects colors on them. In this case,
Effects colors.
I
What's
also
an
had
effects color?
like the glow.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
That
Yeah, right, 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 right.
there. That's there's not a
Yep. Look
lot.
at that. Look at that effect. Yeah.
Ooh.
Right.
And the same thing was true here for this guy, um, except I flattened him out there. So hold on. I had just lines, and then I did flats and highlights and extra highlights.
Highlights too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I flattened it all out, which is what that is.
Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then between the two of them, those are the characters. And then when they were done, I started.
Go on.
There wasn't much background here. It's just a spacescape. So I did the spacescape as the background, which turn it off, you can see, woo, spacescape.
Worked for hours on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that I was pretty glad that was a quickie. Um, and so all of them break down that way to an extent. The one before it was the Strixhaven cover, and again, I can take out the characters who exist on one layer, and I can take out the lamps got their own level. Look at that. The lamps got their own level. Just lamps. That group is only the lamps. And the background and the bookcases. So things are layered like that, and I'll work to finish one layer before I add in another layer. The pencil sketch is where I figure out where everything is, and then I execute layer by layer.
All right, Injun Joe's headed out. Good to hear from you.
Thanks for coming by, Injun Joe. Good to see you.
You're awesome. Okay. Bye, Surreptitious. Thanks for being a fan.
Bye.
Please keep reading the blog. Thank you. Goodbye.
So we come back here. We can see that that's how far I have finished.
Okay.
But
all right.
the sketch. So I'm going to do the flat colors next and the highlight colors. I don't think there's going to be any special effects on this one.
Yeah.
So I'll do that, and then I'll do the whole background as one piece behind it when they're done.
All right. This one looks more involved than some of the others. Looks like you got more going on here.
It varies. So maybe, except if we look at the thing, it's mostly. Let me add a layer on top of this so I don't draw on it. But this is more or less all one color. Oh, you know what? If I get a different brush, this will be easier. Right. This is all basically one color.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And this and this and this and this, these are all that color. So putting that flat in is not going to be that hard. There's a second lighter version of that, which is going to go all through that.
Mm-hmm.
And then a variant color is going to go on there. It doesn't look variant enough. It doesn't really matter. What do I care? This is just a sample. But, that. And then the little guy is going to have some, he's going to have a little bit of complication, but not a lot because he's just a tiny little guy. Right? So I'll color all that, do all the flats. Which is just like coloring book coloring. I'm just finding the shapes and filling them with the color. And then I look at that and I make it pop by putting the highlights on, which are less, I don't have to do everything. I just have to find the spots so that while it's more complicated in making decisions, it's also, I make a decision and then I put that in lots of little places. And it doesn't really take that long.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So that does that answer the question?
It does. It does. Just admirably. Yes, absolutely. David Shepard has a question for me. He says, I just found a free adventure on the WotC website that Stan made called Stone Dead.
Stone Dead.
Credits say you play tested it. Did Stan run the game for you? How did it go?
I did run the game for you. I bet you don't remember how it went.
This is another thing I have absolutely no memory of. No,
I don't remember that game either. Well, I remember the adventure, and I remember that we play tested it. But that means I ran it once in. That must have been 2002. I'm guessing. I bet on the document somewhere it'll say what copyright year it is. So we played it once. Then, so
yeah, right. No memory, none whatsoever.
And
what I do remember.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would say, and it's a for the website adventure.
Right.
So it's a
Right.
one like it's one evening. It's not even a big long thing. It was one 4 hour game session.
Yeah. Right. Right.
The only thing
Yeah.
that the if you remember anything about it, and the thing that was, and I did this based off something Chris did in his campaign, was I created a creature that was ossifying at range,
Mm.
and it lived under the ground, and you had to get down to it. And so when you entered the area, you came under its effects before you could
Mm.
encounter it.
Right. That makes sense. By the way, I feel like every D&D game that I've run since I played in Chris's campaign has just been like, you know, as inspired by Chris
Yeah,
Perkins.
oh,
Like
I say that all the time. Absolutely, 100% true.
I've been running games for like
100%
20
true.
years now, and it's just like, I remember when Chris did this, I'm going to do it too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much has been announced publicly, so I can't say it. And I don't know much, but my few conversations with him are that he is going to get back into running some games that the public will be able to interact with. Um, now that he's working for
Yeah.
the the whatever the name of the company is.
Darrington
Yeah.
Press. Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't feel comfortable saying any more than that, and
Okay.
even that may be a spoiler.
Yeah,
But sorry,
yeah.
Chris, I'm spoiled that much. People will be able to find you somehow and enjoy your game, your GMing skills.
Thanks, Dan. No, I was
So,
going to say what I do remember was your Dragon Dice role playing game that you ran once.
yeah, that didn't work.
And and I made a lava elf that I named Kaja Gugu, and I really enjoyed it.
Uh,
I had a good time.
yeah, I never was able to finish that in a way that I was satisfied with the game. And it's something that the people that bought the Dragon Dice rights were like, "Please finish that, and we will buy it from you. We want to have them." I was like, and now I can't find it anymore. If I could find the files, I'd probably just polish it and say, "Look, it's here. No, no, pay me,
I
but here."
right. I mean, I feel like how hard would it be to recreate that? I don't know.
I think the biggest challenge right now would be getting back familiar with the dice, but
Sure.
it wouldn't be that hard. I mean, it would be remembering because I don't remember what all the variables were and what their
No,
randomness
no idea.
assortment was, and that's
I hope you come
that's
back soon. I miss you.
yeah. I still so when I was working on that,
I'll be
I
right here.
you can't hear me. Oh God, please
Yeah,
listen.
okay, okay, wait. You're back. You're back.
All right. Well, oh please listen to me. Hear me. Um, while I was working on that, I one of the products I one of the last products I worked on. In fact, the product I was working on the day everyone got laid off at TSR, the Christmas layoff.
Mm-hmm.
I was working
Yeah.
as the editor of the Dice Commander's Manual,
Oh.
the book with pictures of all the dice, and which
Yeah.
is a really
Uh-huh.
useful book. I
Yeah.
and no one wanted it. Like they just wound up on the free table all the time, and I collected a stack of those because those were super useful if I was going to do this role playing game to be able to hand people.
Yeah.
Um, so I probably in a box still somewhere have a bunch of them. I got rid of a bunch of them, but I collected a lot of Dice
I
Commanders.
wonder if I have one of those. I bet I have one of those because I love Dragon Dice
Yeah,
back in the day. Like I bought Dragon Dice, spent my own damn money on it before I came to work for TSR, and then when I did, I was like, "Whoa, dice!" And
it could have been.
RPGA
No, you
had.
had to have been there. It Dragon Dice didn't come out till the summer of '96.
Mm-mm, no, I a friend and I played it a lot before I got hired. Um,
This is impossible.
I'm just telling you facts. Like my first encounter with Sue Wineline was at Dragon Con, teaching us how to play Dragon Dice. They had they had tall curtains and the air of mystery and you know
Unpossible.
Sue did not know me from Stinky Gamer number 917, and she taught my friends and I how to play Dragon Dice.
I Wow. I have to pause to
All right,
actually
let's
look
go.
this up.
Yep, let's make it happen.
Dragon Dice. It cannot be. Like my, I'm gonna have to give up the entirety of my memories of everything.
95.
No.
It's true. Nope. It's the internet says so. Therefore, the facts um, the facts are what they are.
No. Wow.
In '96 at Gen Con, there was a giant gumball machine full
That
of
that
Dragon
I mean,
Dice,
yeah, yeah. That
and my
wasn't.
friends. I convinced my friends to come to Gen Con, and
Oh.
they just
So it
dropped all their
wasn't.
money in that
It
gumball
wasn't
machine.
available at. Was it available at Gen Con in '95? Couldn't have been.
I played it at Dragon Con '95. I don't know if that was before or after Gen Con.
Oh. Publication. Come on. This is a useless article.
The chat actually is spitting facts. Michael in chat is saying Shannon Appelkline
Yeah.
said in Designers and Dragons that it was at the time, quote, a more innovative approach to the collectible industry. And Shannon Appelkline is correct in that.
So I have mixed feelings about Shannon Appelklein's books
Oh, do
because
tell.
and I don't know Shannon, and I mean to cast no shade on him, but one of the things that
Right.
all histories of the industry, apart from um, oh god, I'm blanking on his name now. The guy did the really awesome, gigantic, big Peterson. Aside from Peterson's, they are based
Mm-hmm.
on interviews with people whose memories are reliable as mine is right now.
Uh-huh.
And
Mm-hmm.
everything in the Apple Klein books, I never got interviewed. There are a couple of places. There aren't a lot of places where I should be mentioned, so I'm not like saying this. A couple of places where I am mentioned, and I look at what I read there, and I'm like, I know who he talked to. That's not what
Mm-hmm.
happened. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't. You can't interview everyone. Like what Peterson did was just a crazy research thing by a guy who could afford to back his own research department or his research time doing it. Shannon did this on the side, and it's a great collection. But it is a word of mouth history,
Mm-hmm.
and there are many many things that it gets uh, not 100%,
Man,
and
many
occasionally
mouths.
just
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so
Like that
I like.
1995 thing, for instance. What a lie. What a sham.
No, I mean I'm thinking about it. So what I do know, what I do feel super confident about is that Gen Con '96 was the first time it was Dragon Dice was there. I wasn't with TSR in '95, but I remember being there, and it's a gumball machine that I remember. So it could be that that's what I'm remembering. But that was
Mm.
also the year of the million dice that she ordered so many so they could be at
Yes.
Gen Con. That
Right.
wasn't '95. That was '96.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Because you were there for that too.
I was there for that.
Yeah.
We did our Lorraine voice. Yeah. 1,000,000 sets
Look,
of
a million
dice.
of them. A million dice. A million sets.
1,000,000 sets of dice.
Are you sure? Don't make me say 2,000,000.
And then Vince Kaluri's
Oh yeah,
two
we
tons
got a
of
million
crap.
pounds of crap sitting in Wisconsin. God. Uh, and then he couldn't. The main thing was he couldn't understand why we didn't like that.
Yeah, why someone might take
how
offense at
how
the
we might
output of their
agree
labor.
that maybe we're overstocked and it's a problem, and still not be happy that he stood in front of the entire company and said, "Got a million pounds of TSR crap sitting in Wisconsin. We got to get rid of that shit." Oh, Vince.
Those are good times.
Oh, crikey. God damn it. There was something in the middle of that. I was like, oh, I got to talk to Jeff about this. It's gone. Oh, here's
It's
a.
time.
Yes, no, I remember what it is. Aha. You know what? I'm even going to take the drawing off the screen so it's just you and me.
Oh, yes. Main event. Let's go.
All right. So, um, I have this idea that I've begun to explore in the most preliminary way, in that I put it as a service on my rate sheet, but it's no one's ever paid for it yet. And that
Okay. All right.
is to do game night sketchbook work for hire. Now you
Game
pay
night
me. I'm a service, kind of like you hire a caricaturist to come to your party.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You
All right.
hire
Sure.
me to attend in person or online, whatever, your game, and do the kind of sketches, the cartoons that I would do during our game.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but because I'm not playing, it's not just like one every 45 minutes or an hour. I'm there
Yes.
specifically to
Right.
do a
Oh,
whole bunch of them. And then when
capturing all
it's
the moments. Yes.
and then when it's done, I will put it into a PDF, and you get it for add-ons. I'll do a simple sketch of each character beforehand, so I know what they look like, and so everyone will get that. Am I frozen? You're frozen. Um, we're freezing back and forth. Um, and what happens if I switch views? Does that change things? It doesn't change things. Crikey. We lost Jeff. Hopefully he'll come back. Those of you who are listening, you've got to wait for the end of the story, because I'm saving it for Jeff. Here he comes. Jeff Quick is back.
I'm back. Hey.
This time you froze. I'm like, oh. I
I
hope that this.
froze and then I disappeared. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was rejected by ecam.live.
But it thought about it and it said, no, he's okay. I'll let him back in.
So you were in the middle of telling me this great idea, and
So,
I was gonna hype man it.
at
Yeah, yeah.
how far did what did I cut out on?
You were saying that you were gonna just like instead of playing, you were gonna sit in and you were gonna draw for the whole time, and then you were gonna provide a PDF and for an upsell, and that's where I lost you. So I need to know what the upsell
I mean,
was.
I would do a quick sketch. Like if they told me ahead of time, I would do a quick sketch, kind of like I do for our characters on Sunday, right? I did those
Yeah,
quick. This is roughly what he's going to look like, and so
right.
everyone could have one for their characters. But if you paid more, I'd do a more fleshed out drawing, or I could take
Mhm.
one of the moments of that were really funny and do a more finished version of it. But for now, it's going to be the selling point is going to be this is notebook style cartoons. These are
Yeah.
not finished things.
Yeah.
But if you want me to, I can do more fully rendered versions of any of them. But in the end, you get an ebook, a PDF collection of all the
Yeah.
stuff from your uh,
All
event,
right.
and I charge by
Here's
the
what you need to
hour
do.
or by
Here's
the
what you need to do. You need to start selling your services to all of these actual plays, right? You know a guy at Darrington Press now. You should next time they go on camera, you're also there, like sketching the funny moments and
yeah,
capturing them and cartooning them up a little bit. I know I've been to some actual plays at like PAX,
right.
um, where I think it would go over real big if you were just sort of, like some sort of like court sketch artist just sitting over to the side. Um,
Well, it turns out they're
this is
going to be at PAX West in September, and there might be a stage show involved. They usually do one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but like
Not saying Chris is going to run a game there, but it seems as
I
though.
I am not either. As I said earlier, I do not know, and I am not saying that. Whoa,
You heard it here. You
Jesus,
all heard it here in the chat.
sweet, wow, what are you doing to me, Jeff?
We know
Suddenly,
what is definitely not going to be happening at PAX West.
you know what's definitely not going to be happening is tomorrow the internet's going to be filled with, according to Stan Brown on his show, sweet
this
spitting Christmas.
this is the kind of chaos I bring. This
Yeah.
is what I'm here for.
um. Wow. So I have done versions of this. So like for the Green Ronin um, live stream shows, they're not games, not for the games, but for their shows. That's where I did a whole bunch of drawings like the Damn It Owen drawings, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're more filled out than the ones that we're
Oh
talking.
yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
Hmm.
those are.
Hmm.
And I was having a hard time describing to someone the 3 layers of drawings for me, which is
Hmm.
fully
Yeah.
rendered and
Right.
quick sketch, which is like these are my personal terms. That's why they didn't understand. Quick sketch is like what I do for the Damn It Owen or the Green Ronin drawings, which is
Hmm.
I do a sketch, I make sure it's right, and then I quickly finish it rather than polishing it. And then there's
Hmm.
doodle level, which is what I do for
Right.
us during game day.
For
So
games.
they would be doodle
Right.
level drawings, basically. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you think that's a thing that has legs as a
I
concept?
do. I do. By the way, chat, you want to call that unconfirmed but credible reports. Um,
Unconfirmed but credible reports say, oh, and thus ends my friendship with Chris Perkins, which has survived so much. Dan can neither confirm nor deny. No, I just denied it. I flat out denied it. Well, I denied that I know anything.
Which basically means it's factual. That's what you need to take away from this.
You are never coming back on this show again. Oh my god. Anyway,
This
so that was
this
the
is
idea I
another
wanted
one.
to
Yeah.
bounce off you.
No, I really no, I seriously, well, all of my bullshitting aside, I think what you need to do is you need to take this to people who have a budget, right? Um, but but I think it's a killer idea to, next time somebody, whether it's Darrington or um uh uh I mean, like, so the only ones, again, because videos are boring,
Right.
I also feel that way about actual plays.
Actual
Like
plays.
I try to watch them even live. I'll go to them live, and I'm like, oh boy, am I bored. Um, but I've been to a couple anyway at PAX Unplugged in Philly,
Yeah.
and I just feel like that's such a great like there. As try as you may, right? No matter how sparkling your players are,
Yeah.
there are just sort of dead points in the game, right? Or frankly, somebody is trying harder to be funny than they're actually succeeding at being funny. And in those moments, uh, I think a cartoon. Hey, look, it's us.
It's our
A
Sunday.
cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh, it's missing Rylan though, or
Yeah.
our
No, I
wizard, our
never.
elf wizard.
I just started drawing Rylan without a sketch. He joined in the middle. He got.
Yeah, I like that. I like the body shape of Skit. Like he's just a kind of a triangle. Um,
Yeah. So for those who really, so this is like a moment that actually kind of happened in our game.
yeah, that's yeah. Well, you say kind of, but I did actually get eaten by a giant fish. That happened. Um,
Right. So I produce, and I'm doing this so the audience can maybe get a view of you. I know you know what I'm talking about. Right.
I appreciate that whenever you have someone saying something spurious, it's my character.
Well, you're not the only one, but you do it a lot.
Right? Once again, yeah, right.
Well,
So the joke there is that my character is a kind of a blithe racist, and so the halfling in the party is a fighter, but I've just sort of assumed that he's a thief all this time,
right.
and so I just keep telling him to go open locks and do stuff, and
But he has a chainsaw,
yeah,
so
but he does also he has a chainsaw, so whenever I tell him to open a door, he's like, okay.
I like this one too. So yeah, so I mean, these are the kinds of. Oh God, you froze
So
again.
right, so oh no,
No,
it's
you're
frozen
back. You're
again.
back. You're back. You should do doodles of the
Oh, but it's
people
gonna
you
have to wait.
have
Gonna have to
on
wait for this
50
to
years.
end.
You know what? There's only so many things I can do at the same time. Am I
Okay,
not
okay,
back?
no,
Okay.
fine. It's back.
I was
It's
just
back.
looking at David Shepard's comments. I should doodle the people I have on the show. I'm like, there's only so many things I can do at the same time.
Yeah, like I wonder. I don't know. I sort of feel like you're too established to like, you know, to do anything for exposure. But I
That's
sort of
not
feel like.
true at all.
But I feel like if you did it once, I think people would get it and you know create some
I
demand.
yeah, no, I certainly like I say, this is something I'm just beginning to after it. I kind of lurked in the back of my head, but I never thought about it seriously until the last couple of weeks. Um,
I
but
also feel like you're good. No, no, go.
I think what I probably need to do is find and someone with a big audience and agree to do it with them for exposure and
Hmm.
for a certain period of certain number of weeks and
Yeah,
get it out there and
right,
get people to understand what it is, and then it's
right.
I can do as seen on.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's that. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like you're established enough, and you're a known quantity enough that
Yeah, I've got a story
you,
about that too, a recent
you shouldn't
story
have
about that.
to. About how well you're known.
A last weekend story about how well I'm known.
About, yeah, well, I mean, you're better known than I am. I'm astonished that people in the chat have like dug out these absolute fossils of things that I've done because
Well,
I'm well used to crickets chirping whenever I show up publicly, right? Nobody knows who I am.
the only reason I think people that I have the two reasons I think I've got to step beyond that is that I've got the stand with the exclamation point,
Yeah.
and um and some other reasons I forget.
And another very good
And
reason, a
another
second reason,
very good reason.
which I will
Oh,
reveal
you
to
know
you at
what?
a later
No,
date.
I peaked a little higher than you back in the day, right? I had my name on
Yeah,
more
yeah,
books, and I was pushed out, not pushed out. I was happy to go, but I was out in front of the audience. I
yeah.
I, I peaked higher, so there's more possibility of a residual echo in the nerdosphere.
Well, I mean, I think you're better. You're you're more personable than I am in a lot of ways,
Boy,
and
ain't
I
that the
think
truth?
that.
I mean, no, no.
Hey, I oughta.
Agarn,
Um,
I don't know why everyone says you're so dumb.
but also you want it more than I do. Like I am perfectly happy being a guy in the background editing books, not particularly well known or like there's sometimes whenever something like with me having designed Necromancer, and I'm kind of sanguine about not even going to the Gen Con where it launches, right? It's like meh,
Whereas I
okay.
love the fact that my name's on the cover.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, it totally
Not,
is.
not
Yeah,
just
and
my
my
name.
name's on the cover and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, but mine is my actual signature.
It's true. It's true. I mean like I don't no points for this necessarily, but I made sure that our art director like put your signature on every card. I was like, Stan, the name needs to
Wow.
appear. And he's really good at art direction. It's not like he was like putting an artist's name on his art. I don't know about that. He wasn't like that at all, right?
Right.
But
The funny thing was,
yeah,
I
no.
was totally ready to think, well, the signature on every card, it's on the box. I win. Like I know they put Kavalik's signature on everyone, but I'm no Kavalik. Not
I
yet.
mean, now there's a guy who's really good at self promotion, right? And no, I'm amazed. Like the, I because I'm sort of retiring, and because I have never really cared for social media all that much.
Yeah.
Whenever I see somebody who can make it work, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And John's great at it.
And the
Um,
thing is, he also is quiet. He's not a rah rah out there in your face. He's a quiet guy who will deny being a big deal, but he's really good at it.
but he knows how to turn it on though. Yeah, yeah. I've never been any good at turning it on. Like it's funny because in person, I'm, uh, you know,
Yeah.
I'm moderately engaging, right? But online, I'm like, oh Lord, no, not that.
No,
Oh
you're
gosh,
yeah, yeah. But you know, and we've always said like we invented podcasting,
we invented podcasts.
right?
I know.
Because we've known for years that together we work really well.
Yeah, yeah.
I pulled up another one of my favorite moments of Nezrin.
Oh, right, right. Right. Yes. Right. So Nezrin is a cleric of functionally Saint Cuthbert in D&D terms, and this guy was an evil cleric uh, uh, who still was a cleric,
Right.
uh, and so whenever he raised Nezrin, Nezrin was like, "No, I don't want to be brought back to life by you."
And makes a
And
nice movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
I almost choked him out. The rest of the party saved him.
Yeah.
I think that there's a fun dichotomy in Nezrin that he's kind of a thoughtless airhead, uh, but um, but he's sincere. He's very sincere, and not in a hypocritical way, like about his clericdom, about his religion.
Yeah.
He
God.
he's all in. I find that
Yeah.
amusing to play.
He, you you you've been freezing on that, Jeff. Am I freezing for you now? I am, clearly. Wow.
Nope, all frozen. Nope,
Oh.
frozen, frozen, frozen.
You were frozen.
Okay, no wait, you're back. You're
Okay.
okay. You're pixely, but you're back.
We
Okay.
just traded freezings.
Oh,
So you were talking about Nezrin, and you went.
oh, no, that's nice. Oh, thanks, man. Oh no. Oh well, it's fine. I was just talking about my character. Nobody wants to hear crap about my character.
Yeah, we tell people not to do
I just amuse myself.
that.
I know, I know, I know.
But I mean, the thing about those cartoons
The
is
short
what
version is I think I'm funny.
for me, I always look at him like he's he's the guy who doesn't know how much he doesn't know, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's an expert who really doesn't know that much.
Well, that's whenever I rolled him up and I had a really great wisdom and a really crappy intelligence,
Yeah.
I decided that uh, I was gonna express that by uh, being one of those guys who doesn't know what he doesn't know,
Mm.
and by if I don't know the answer, I will often in the moment confidently say something uh, that I know not to be the answer. And what I find interesting is that nobody calls me on it. Like nobody ever goes, Nezrin, you idiot. Like nobody ever does that. We just keep rolling with it.
Well, yeah, but I think that's the role playing aspect because our characters don't know that
Right.
because you have been particularly early in the campaign. You made good rolls and were right a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, Jeff, it's been 2 hours. I told you. It just kind of flies by. I
Well, I
know.
gotta
He's so shocked he
go.
froze.
Um, somebody, David Shepard asked, what was it like working for Fast Forward Entertainment? What I did for them was brief. I wrote some stuff for them. Tim Brown, I like a lot. Um, uh, but it was sort of early third edition stuff, and I think everybody was just throwing stuff at the wall and trying to figure out what stuck. And that was one of those things, you know, we threw some stuff at the wall, and that particular thing didn't really stick, but it was it was fun to do.
I'm trying to
You
decide. I, I'm trying to
yes
decide whether to
yes
say certain things publicly.
yes say them yes
So, the secret history of Fast Forward games
yes
begins 3 years before Fast Forward, 4 years before Fast Forward, right around
when
the
it was still
start.
on play. Hmm.
Uh, when I was when um, a bunch of us were at a convention together and decided to create an independent game magazine, and then decided to give it the
Oh
miserable name of Shred
yeah, it's
magazine.
right, shred. Yes,
So
shred.
Fast
Yes.
Forward is all the people from the Shred team except me because I was still working for Wizards and I
Hmm.
wasn't going to go join the team. But um, here is the secret story about my friend and an industry uh, um, legend who is who passed away last year, Jim Ward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
That's correct, Michael in chat. This is unconfirmed but credible. Go ahead.
this is, well, no, if I'm going to say this, I'm backing it. I'm just, that's why I'm not sure I want to say it. But so when the D20 and OGL came out, I was working at Wizards. Jim was between jobs. Shred had not started yet. But Jim called me to ask, what is this D20 thing? I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it. And so I gave him the inside on what it was. And he says, so we can just do whatever we want. And I was like, well, within these bounds, look at it for sure. But the thing you should know about third edition is that the 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 DMG has more information about the way you build things and the way you do things, and it's important that you use that. In that the audience has come to expect it. If you want to get the fans of D&D, you have to do things that way, which are not necessarily, I knew, the way he'd want to do it. And he said,
right.
All right, I will go. I have not read that because I've skimmed it. I will go back and read it. And may I call you if I have more questions? And I said, sure. And he did. No, he did. He went and he read it, and I got a call. I got a call from him like 2 days later. And he said, Stan, you are lying to me. And I said, no. I said, it is not necessary to do. He said, you and I know, in his Jim Ward voice, you and I know that these are not, the game is robust and can handle many different things, and there are many different ways to do things, and we don't have to do things that way. And I said to him, Jim, you are absolutely right. You can, but if you say you want to get part of that audience that is buying all of this D20 material, and their expectation is that these things will be done, and if you don't, that you are doing it wrong. They will call you out on getting it wrong because you didn't meet these parameters. And you know, as a publisher, that if your audience wants it one way, you've got to, if you want to sell 1,000,000 of them, you've got to give it to them that way. And he said, I will think about that again. And then we did Shred, is one of the things that came out after those conversations. It crashed and burned. Oh boy, did it crash and burn. After that, when the guy who was financing Shred came to them and said, we're just not doing it anymore, I can't throw, if you guys have any other ideas. Now, Jim Ward, and I'm going to, Jeff, I will tell you in private a more robust version of this story. But when it came down to the D20 thing, Jim Ward had said that he would never, ever, ever do anything that was D20 that would support Wizards of the Coast, because he was resented not them buying the company and him not being hired back.
Yeah.
Being feted the way some of the other people were feted. And he colorfully, in a very Jim Ward way, robustly expressed that sentiment. But when Shred was gone and there were no other options on the table, he's the one that came forward and said, what we're going to do is make D20 products.
Yeah.
That was his plan. And as you know, Fast Forward gained a reputation for not following the rules that what they put out didn't match the expectations of it was at least spotty in it. Like they couldn't be relied upon to hit those expectations.
Right. I mean, the stuff I wrote.
Right. That's what the people who knew did.
Yeah.
Jim and Tim and Bill Connors and a lot of the people involved were not
Yeah.
deeply involved, and Jim, as the leader of the group, did not insist that they do it, and so he said, I don't know because I wasn't in, but I'm sure he said, do the stuff you always do. It's great. People will love it. And it didn't.
You
It did.
know, I yeah, I feel like that attitude was just a few years too early because
Yeah.
when OSR showed up, there was an audience ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, um, but not during the 3E
Yeah.
boom. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. No, he was trying to do it at the wrong juncture, and the
Yeah.
and the company suffered it for it.
Yeah.
Chris says Shred Magazine sounds like a male gym membership magazine.
It does. Gosh,
It
maybe we
also
should restart
sounds
it.
like at the time we thought I those of us who voted against that name said it sounds like a skateboarder magazine.
Well, that's what I thought when it came out. Is it sounded like a skateboarder? I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, maybe you're going for something, something I don't get. But in fact, there was a I know there was at least one comic book where the superhero was a skateboarder, and it was called Shred, and it was a pretty
Yeah,
good book actually.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where the name came from, but uh,
Well, the name came from so the concept behind Shred magazine was that it was everything. The pitch that Jim had was when you think about Dragon magazine, what do you remember about it? You remember the articles. You remember the cartoons. You remember the you know. Here's a little opinion. The opinion pieces about this. Here's a bunch of random tables on how to do something. So Shred magazine is everything, all of that without the D&D.
hmm,
I had pitched once they decided to do it that we'd take turns, each of us designing an adventure, and Shred magazine because you could not you everyone was selling out D20 adventures at that point, and we could have gotten with a group of 8 of us,
yeah,
we could have
yeah,
gotten an
right,
adventure a month out in
right,
the first
yeah,
year of D20, and that's that's when Jim said his very colorful line about not.
yeah, yeah.
So Shred Magazine was everything that you loved about Dragon without the gamey stuff. And turns out that while that's what you might talk about, that's not what you bought the magazine for.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. Okay. I don't need to have further opinions about this.
Yeah. So it was a very interesting experiment. I had a lot of fun working with my friends. Um, I
All
think
right.
that
I'm frozen again. I'm frozen.
are you
Yeah.
unfrozen now?
And it's getting a little late, so I
Yeah.
think I
All right.
got to
Are you back? Am I back?
head out. I'm back. I'm back.
All
Yes.
right,
Yes,
good.
I'm back.
All
I
right,
can hear
yeah,
you.
I'm getting that it's late and you've got to go, which is great. We've done this is now we're getting close to 2.5 hours. So why don't we just let me take this off the screen entirely and get us back to you and me. This is Jeff Quick, everyone, in case you don't know, and
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. All
you,
you in chat.
you can go to koboldpress.com/blog to find all of the stuff that he's doing for Cobalt.
Visit every weekday. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, we'll see. We'll see what if if nobody's name on it, it's often me.
All right. Um, I next week I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to work on this further this week, so I may be doing the coloring on this next week, or I may be starting another one of them. We'll see. I've still got almost a dozen unfinished things to work on.
No reason to finish things whenever you could do half of something else. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Jeff, uh, I hope I can get you to do this again. Like some
Yeah, we should do this again.
yeah, whatever. Do it
If
again.
you can if you can stand it. If you can
Oh, Jeff, just imagine
What am
if
I going
we
to
had,
back you into next time?
if we could have actually invented podcasting the way we tried to.
Oh my gosh, David Shepard asks about Midgard space. Oh boy, I better see now. I better actually watch my step talking about what's going on.
Oh,
This is
now you should watch your step, huh? Well, okay, we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, well no, I mean encouraging you to put your foot in things is all different than the thing is that I'll put my foot in things without help. I'll 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 just do it on my own. You don't have to encourage me.
Oh, I'll help.
Just wind me up and let me go, and I'll say things I shouldn't have said.
I'll make sure they get repeated for 3 weeks in a row.
Excellent. Well, that's the kind of thing that gets me on again. Sounds good.
All right. Well, suppose if you want to hear about Midgard space, we'll have to get Jeff on again. All right.
Okay.
Dale has agreed to be on next week. The following week is the week of that you're going to be out here for a wedding, and I think I'm just not going to be on at all that week because of wedding stuff. So hold on, Jeff. I'm going to take you off screen. I'm going to do an outro, and then you and I can say goodbye and like that.
Okay. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Talk to you. Peace.
All right, there we go. That was got half done. I finished the inking on the practically full guide to all dragon things, whatever it's called. And as I said before, I may finish that off screen, or I may be back next show doing the coloring on that. But next week I will be doing another work in progress show, and Dale Donovan has agreed to come back again. So Dale will be back next week. Hopefully. I mean, it seems like that's going to happen, but life. In the meanwhile, thank you to Jeff for showing up. Please do go to koboldpress.com/blog to see what they're going on every weekday. Lots of, not just Jeff and Wolfgang, lots of other folks write really great stuff. And a lot of folks I know, and I love it. I love it. So, there. That maybe they can use that as one of their quotes. Stan says, I love it. Yes, I will be back tomorrow night with a new episode of Random Encounters, show where I do use random encounter tables to create drawing prompts that I don't know what they are, and then I draw them for your entertainment. So come on back to see that. In the meanwhile, please, everyone, if you've enjoyed this, do me a favor. Give it a like or a thumbs up, whatever on the platform you're watching. If you're watching it on replay, please leave a comment. Even a short one saying, wow, that Jeff guy, don't have him back on again. Or he should take over the show and you should never come back. Whatever. First of all, I'd love to hear it. And second of all, that really, honestly and truly is what it takes to get the platforms to share the show with other viewers. And we can get more people to join us for fun like this. So, until next time, I say to you, take care. Bye.